So here we are, YouTube fans, a 05 Ford engine, 5.0 Ford engine, like the Mustang engine, and the water pump's gone bad. So we're gonna change the water pump. I'm gonna show you detailed steps how to do it the easiest. First thing, you could take these hoses off here, these little connections down here, take them off with this tool, but I just chose not to. But anyway, then you put this under there. This is size 3/4, and stick it up in there and just pull it off. So yeah, it's a little bit of a pull, tug of war, but these little ears get up under that white thing, and then once these white things release themselves, then it just pulls off nice and easy like. This is a 3/4, and you can get this tool set at Advanced Auto. Looks something like this. Super cheap, but it works. This adhesion between the hose and that connecting point, I already got the clamp released and moved down, but that adhesion there needs to be broke with a tool like this. This will get up under the hose and relieve the adhesion. Just poke it up underneath and then just work it around as far as you can. That will help. This piece here has a clip. That clip's right there. It just comes off. Just take that clip off. It goes in that groove right there. Take the clip off, and then with a little bit of a screwdriver persuasion, put that in there and just pry it off. And should have already drained the water. There's no antifreeze in there. Well, it's already leaked out all the water even. So that's how that comes off. Just get that out of the way. This one here, this connection here, same thing. Take that little wire, see that little hook on the top, that little wire, release that wire, and then that will separate. This whole thing will pull off from that piece, and that will make this come off easier. You know, just pull it straight out. There, I got it pulled out. Now you just take that wire, just take it off, set it aside. They're both identical, so you can't mix them up. Just pull it off. After you get that pin off of there, you pull that off of there, and this is actually in the way a little bit. So if you wanted to take 4 screws and just remove this throttle body, it would make this area between here and there a lot more, and it'd be easier to come off. But once you get those hoses off of there, those connectors off of there, then this one, after you break the surface adhesion, it just pulls right off. And this is a good part to replace while you're doing the water pump. I've already done mine because I had an obvious water leak spraying out of here. I thought that was the problem, so I replaced this. You can see how it's kind of new, but lo and behold, the water pump was leaking too, or soon thereafter, who knows. Anyway, we're changing the water pump. This piece here, when I replaced that hose, was really rusty, so I went and got a new one of these. But I remember how difficult it was. It's just an O-ring sitting down in the water pump, 5/16 bolt right there holding it in. Take that bolt out, and that O-ring, it holds on pretty good. So before I take the water pump off, I'm gonna pull that O-ring, you know, that piece out of there while while it's connected to the block. I've got leverage and I can pull it out a little easier rather than later. Slowly get a pry bar under there and start prying this up. Get under here, and it is a barrett. You're gonna have to pull. I had a pair of pliers here on the end pulling up while I was wiggling that. I got it loose now, so it'll pull right out. But don't short step this, because that little O-ring is it'll put up a fight. This is a neat little trick, is leave the belt on. The belt will give tension on this pulley to take them 4 number 10 bolts out of the pulley. The belt tensioner is down there. It'll loosen counterclockwise with a number 15 socket. Got to get a long ratchet some leverage, you know, pull that over toward the, you know, the ratchet will be sticking up toward the hood, and then you push it over toward the passenger compartment, loosen the belt, take the belt off, that pulley will then fall off. That thermostat housing there, 5/16 bolts, two really long 5/16 bolts. It made me nervous. I thought, doggone, if anything breaks, it's going to be those little 5/16 bolts that are, what, 3.5 inches long. But they both broke loose. And here's something I want to point out. See that orange O-ring? And any O-ring on the replacement, or not even on the replacement, just any O-ring you see while disassembling, replace it. O-rings is the seal. They might look good, but when they start getting solid, they don't expand and contract anymore, you know, they're not rubbery, they will leak. So while you can, replace all your O-rings. Now here's a little trick I learned, hard knocks. Hey, first off, if you went to a mechanic, how much would this have cost? I bet it would have cost $80 for a mechanic to change this water pump. And now you're saying, $80? Shit, it would have cost $200, maybe $300. My point is, the tools that I've used are all one-time purchases, and then you have it the rest of your life. Especially this beautiful Craftsman stubby. You never find another one of these. So once you buy the tools for all, say, $80, then they're bought and paid for and good the rest of your life. So the next time you use them, it's like free. So yeah, if you spend $80 on tools, just if, then it's totally worth the repair, because you just saved yourself $100+ by doing it yourself. If you can't do it yourself, then you're just a pussy cat. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, just stand up and do it. It's not hard. Here's a secret I was going to point out to you though, is where is the bolts that holds the water pump on? I got to feel around and look for it, find one. It's hard. It's dirty, it's greasy. How you going to find them? So there you go. Here's the new one, the water pump housing, thermostat housing right there, so you can get oriented. And there's your 4 bolts. You can find them real easy because the new one shows you. Anytime you have to replace an old unit with a new unit, go ahead and buy the new unit. And the new unit, this one, will tell you how the old unit comes apart. They show you right where those 4 bolts are. Those are number 10 bolts, and there's 4 of them. Basically north, south, east, and west. West is a little higher than true west, if you know what I'm saying. I think that's the black gasket right there. I think this is the replacement for that. It came with the pump. Just for those fans just tuning in, I'm doing this Pontiac 78 Trans Am. I just did this top end of this motor and AC brackets, all that like that. If you want to follow along on this rebuild, it's come a long way, but you got to follow along to see how far it's gone. The next step in the process is getting this air conditioned wiring and the under dash wiring replaced. You got everything right here, so nothing left but to do it. You got this throttle bracket coming right there. That one with a square in it, that doesn't fit. That fit the old Edelbrock carburetor. So yeah, just trying to make everything OEM correct as possible. This is my parts car, T-top parts car, came from the junkyard. Back to the water pump. Don't give up, this water pump will come out. You see the shiny gap in there? Got to have that same gap all the way around and bring it out evenly. There's plenty of pry points. You know, run your finger around there, make sure one edge is following the other edge, and just keep going with it. It's pretty long, so it's going to take some effort, because this whole thing, how do I show you? This turns, this doesn't. So this whole thing from here, where it seats, from here to here has to come out, and as straight as possible. You can't pry it out sideways, it'll score. Remember, we're dealing with aluminum, it mars real easy and may make a leak. So bring it out as straight as possible. Now it's also important, once you get the old one out, look at the configuration. Those two bolt holes, those two bolt holes, two nipples down there, two nipples. You get the point. Compare everything, make sure it's right. Now, how do you know if a water pump is bad? If you're at the flea market, swap meet, and you want to buy a water pump for your car, wiggle this bearing. Well, maybe that doesn't work nowadays because that's tight. But anyway, these new ones right there, see that hole? That's the weep hole. Where this one, the weep hole is there. But I also seen one up here. I think that's a weep hole. I think my old one has that. Oh, it does. Yeah, I dare say that might be the one the water was coming out of. And that's just telling you the transition from the bearing to the impeller is it's giving way. It's letting water seep out here and there. And it's time to get a new water pump. It's interesting, old versus new. I guess that's 2017. This one has no date. Remanufactured, I guess. Yeah, I always try to stay with OEM, original equipment manufacturer. So there's that little gasket, the round one. I'll show you in a minute, the new one. But that's how you get it out. You get your pick tool, get a hold of it, and pull it up. You got to clean that debris out of there. It ain't just remove and replace. You got to clean up that whole groove in there. That's the thermostat up in there. It's connected with them two bolts to the end of it there. But you see, I've been cleaning. I wanted to go back together cleaner than it came apart. So yeah, clean it all up. O'Reilly's video says that after you get the new water pump on, torque the 4 bolts, the 4 number 10 bolts to hold the water pump on, put it at 177 inch-pounds, and then go another 60 degrees. And remember, 90 degrees is a quarter turn, 180 degrees is half a turn. It says go 60 degrees more, so that's not quite a quarter of a turn more after you get the torque value set at 177 inch-pounds. So basically this is a torque wrench. The inch-pounds torque wrench says inch-pounds. So 177 clearly says, 160 right there. So, or 190. So we got to find 177 in the middle. That's one click at a time. As you turn this black handle, just click, click, click from 160 on. But I'll probably stop at 160 and then take it up to 177. Remember, any slippery part like an O-ring that you want to just slide in, I used to wrongfully use Vaseline to help it slide in, excuse me. But I just learned how slick antifreeze is. So dip it in, dip your finger in the antifreeze, whatever, pour a little bit on there, get some antifreeze on it, and there's your slippery surface that won't dry rot the rubber in a few, I don't know how long, but Vaseline is not good on rubber, I found out. Prepare this clip, just place it on like that, and there's no way to put it on wrong. Whichever way you face it, that little thing will face to the left. So I think, I don't know yet until I do it, but I think if we put this on first and then put this on right there, it'll be easier in the long run. So first I'm gonna put this on, clip it, and then put that on with antifreeze as a lubricant. Of course, reverse operation, putting it all back together, just put the belt back on. Very easy to do, just hand tighten the pulley on there, and then put the belt on the pulley, and then counterclockwise on the adjustment right there and seat it. So since these are only hand tight, now I'm going to tighten these up full because it's too easy to forget, so do it now. I'm going to tighten them up. I'm going to put this clamp back there where it belongs, as per Raymond Ray, great mechanic. I watch him every day, great videos on YouTube. I'm going to match up the indentations on the new hose with the clamp, put them right back where they engrooved so that they have a better chance of bonding just like they did before. So I got the clamp on back there on that big hose. I got this little heater hose thing clamped on. Now this one, I just got to put it on. I'm pretty sure you're just going to hear a little click. No, it wasn't audible, but try to pull it off and there's your answer. So it's on there. Just about there. Throttle body, upper radiator hose. I'll do the throttle body first, just so the radiator hose doesn't get in the way of that bolt. So we're getting there. So went to breakfast at 7:30 a.m. Wanted to do this early morning so I beat the heat here in Georgia. So it's 10:30 now. 7:30 went to breakfast. 3 hours plus breakfast. I'll say two and a half hours in my driveway with basic hand tools. Just a few things from being finished, but you're never finished until you check for leaks. So let's get finished and check for leaks. All said and done, it's all back together. So getting ready to give it the old start up and look for leaks. I wanted to give a picture of all the tools used. No more than what's right here in front of me. That's all I used. And the impact. That's the lazy man's tool. So to clean the engine though, I use the engine degreaser first and a little brush. And then this brake clean, amazing. Just melts away the grease. And it's kind of like an air hose. It just pushes it. So we get all the big stuff off with that engine degreaser. And then you have a good platform to work on. If not this time, you will next time. Good video. Let's look for a leak.